got Danny with us today, and Danny, poor old Danny's suffering a bit. Danny, you did an amazing summit I was a part of. It was incredible. There was a lot of speakers. How did it
36.
go?
It was interesting. It was my, like, even though we put on events, it was my first actual summit, and we decided to do it in a tighter, compressed timeline, because originally Branded by Women was slated down for September 11th, and that was going to be a physical event. And then a friend of mine, Yana, said to me, why don't you do like a summit? And I said, I've not done summits before. And I said, but that probably could be a good idea, because we kept moving the Seller Sessions live date, which is now 3rd of October. And I said, yeah, we'll put it in for September 11th. She said, no, you've got to do it in May because of the lockdown.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's only 7 weeks. And then I was like, all right, let's do it. So I decided to do something I've never done before. But the good thing is my developer, who does a lot of work on our sites and stuff, he's put together 15 of them. So he held our hand, and then I put a team together, you know, conversion optimizers, designers, copywriters, that kind of thing, you know. So
well, I have to say, and I'm going to say that to everybody out there, I've been doing mine on my own, so it will never be quite as good as Danny's was or anybody else's.
But this is the thing, right? We all work to our budgets. The reason what I did, and I always decide to do this, is that I always, you know, you think about the horse and cart. You shouldn't put the cart before the horse. And for me, like, whenever I start anything, I don't care about the money.
No.
Well, to say about an entrepreneur is, I don't care. I don't care how many tickets you sell. I care about the experience and the product we deliver. And then next year or the year after is where you make money.
Yeah.
And I always had that same mindset with everything I do. So what we did was we got some good sponsorship money in because of the back of the other events I do. People come to me to do sponsorships. I'm very lucky in that sense. And so I just took all of that money and poured gasoline into the tank and built a beautiful site because we had the budget to do so, paid the team. Whereas, like, when a lot of people are doing summits, there's normally 1 or 2 people doing it, and they rely on the sales of the tickets and stuff. We didn't need to. So I had a choice. Could have been a lot more profitable than it was. It could have sold, you know, could have focused more on selling the tickets. But my thing is, can we build something that people love? And next year, then we'll think about making money, because you've created that experience. The trust is started to build. So that was my.
I'm with you on that one, because I know when I set this one up, it was never about money. I'm not even charging for replays. It was pre-COVID, so it was a whole other idea going on then. So, and then you work with women a lot, you know, to support women and like that. Why? I'm not going to say why women. That's a stupid question. But the women work on Amazon, don't they? Can you tell us a bit more about these women?
So most of the, I mean, this is for me, like, if we look at the macro, is to support women in business. I come from, you know, my mum remarried, etc. But lo and behold, what it come down to is my mum brought me up. So I was brought up in a household where it's just me and her, you know, and I've always been able to get on with women generally. Like, a lot of the staff I've had working with me, work relationships, etc. I've always worked well with women through the music industry and stuff like that. So it's not, you know, so I think it comes down to, I suppose, who you are. I think you get some guys are not necessarily comfortable around women. They're comfortable around their wife, maybe. But when you've worked in, like, places like music and fashion and film and stuff, it's a lot more integrated as an industry. So you end up spending more time with work colleagues that way. And now this is more and more now. But I suppose there is a number of things that I see, and I want to be able to support women, because I've seen it for myself. I've gone speaking at events, and sometimes women get like the virtual tap on the head kind of thing, like pat on the head, you know, like, and I'm just, I don't like that. And, you know, I can see, like, within our industry, there is, I'd say 90% men, 10% women, but for Seller Sessions Live, it's about 35% women, 65% men. And I noticed like, when we go and speak on the road, most of my friends that we speak, you know, they're women as well, you know, and some of the conversations we've had is that there isn't as much women speaking at these events as they could be. And there's a few reasons, and there's some learnings I take from it as well. But the way I see it is that if I can put together an event with 36 women doing 6, 7, and 8 figures on Amazon and brands and stuff, no one's got any excuses. There's a platform there, and we create a platform where women can inspire each other. My struggle was, with Stellar Sessions, I can lead the line, but with Branded by Women, I couldn't. So I come up with a concept of bringing in 3 fantastic women that appealed to different audiences. Right. I think I can't remember who said it to me. Someone said to me, women are almost like a licorice, all sorts. There's so many different kinds there, and there's got to be something there for everyone, especially when you think the audience is women being inspired by women. You've got to remember, it can't come from a man's perspective by putting on a women's event. So you have to take on all of that around you. And the key thing was, it's about who they relate to. So women look at what I've been told, you can correct me, they look up to the stage and they want to feel inspired by the person in front of them, like another woman, and they want to be able to relate. So if I put one person as a lead host for Branded by Women, then you're cutting out other areas of the market, and people may not associate or resonate with that person.
Absolutely.
So I thought, by bringing in 3 different people with their own characters, their own stories, there's going to be at least someone there for everyone. And then once they get to the conference itself, there's 36 people with 36 different personalities, with 36 different stories. And I'm sure you're going to find someone there who you would find inspiring, But what's come from it as well is, I'll be honest with you, the only reason I was able to put this event together is because there was a couple of years ago, I actively searched out to bring women on the podcast and stuff, but being a guy approaching someone cold that you don't know, you got ignored. So it's like, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
They just didn't know you, Danny. That's what it is.
And then once I got on the road and I was speaking a lot, and you meet all these different people at the conferences, it's very easy to make, not phone calls, but contact through Messenger, etc., and say, are you up for it? And they said, yes, Dan, we're behind it. So no one actually said no, and everyone jumped on board. But I think that comes from also is that if I didn't have these relationships, it wouldn't necessarily been possible to do it if I went cold and knocked on these people's doors and say, will you speak at this conference? I don't think that would have worked. The second thing, and this came up in our Branded by Women, like the women went out on like a podcast run and done about 20 podcasts, and they worked in round tables, and each had different topics. And one of them was Megla Pardwaj, who put it together. She does a lot of sourcing from India. She's done a number of these, and a big supporter of Branded by Women. And with the one that she done, she was talking about women speaking at conferences, and she even noticed itself is that a lot more men would ask to speak than women. And the conversation was, women should speak up a bit louder and say, put themselves forward. I want to speak. Please put me forward. Because there's that battle of, well, there's not enough speaking there, but if you don't ask, you don't get. And if all the guys go steaming in and take up all the slots early, by the time you've plucked up the courage to ask. So the things I learned from that is that there was a general foundation that pretty much all the women agreed for is kind of negotiate your worth and kind of know your worth and don't be scared to ask. They're the kind of common themes that I noticed and this is me observing, but this is women talking to each other.
Right. You're absolutely, because the clients I have, when I coach them in public speaking, the first thing you have to persuade women is to know their worth and not feel like they're bragging and not feel like, they're being salesy and all the rest of it. And there aren't enough
pushy. Because it's almost like if a guy is pushy, he's been he's being assertive and going forward. If a woman's pushy, she's being harsh, and you get judged in different ways, and I can understand that. So there's this almost like not a rule, but it's an invisible rule book in some people's minds. It's like, well, if I do that, I'll come across as a bit of a bit catty. Or if I do
taught as children, I swear it's our mothers going, no, don't show off, don't boast, that's just a lad, he's doing his thing. I think, So
I think overall, the general consensus consensus, it was a success. There were 2 other summits on that week, but we definitely took all the press coverage and stuff. It was like Branded by Women was everywhere, so that was great. Everyone involved felt happy about it as well. But I think what we're trying to do is effectively, as an entrepreneur, you solve problems, right? This and Megla said this, Padwa, she was involved. She said we shouldn't be doing a conference which is just focused on women, and I agreed. But we're trying to fix a problem that is currently broken. So by doing that and presenting that out there, and people putting all of these people on a pedestal, it means that anyone else who's doing events, which I know a lot of people in our community want, you know, they bought a pass or they watch the stuff because what were they doing? They're going, brilliant. There's a big array of all these different women there, and they'll try and deem in their mind, pick from the best for their own conferences. So effectively that's a win. That's not me sitting there going, oh, you stole my lineup and my, it's not about that. That idea was to put these people out there and give them a platform and see that that others will go, okay, got no excuses now. I like their presentation there. They'll come across well. They'll fit into this subject. And therefore, I think the lineups will then start to become more balanced moving forward. I think that's going to take 18 months or so. And then I think next year, which I think we will do Branded by Women again, I think it becomes the new normal. And I think people had reservations, men had reservations. I think some of them are terrified of saying the wrong thing. So they say nothing at all. And because I think it came out of the left field for them. But I think there'll be an adjustment next year, and we'll do it again, or someone else will do their events, and it becomes a new norm, and then great, then it becomes ubiquitous and things start to move forward a bit, you know.
And I think you're right about that, getting speakers to, because for me, the speakers I've got on this event are because I've met them, not because I, like you say, knocked on cold doors. You build that relationship and people trust you enough to go, yeah, I'll be a part of it. And what I love about you and what you do is, it's not like you're not in competition. You don't think of yourself in competition with other people, do you? It is about supporting. And have you always been like that?
Yeah, I do that with everything. Look, you know what? There's a lot of hate in the world. I only do things like, I have 3 rules in business, as I can't get up in the morning. Like the first rule is when I say no to 99% of things. First rule for me is, does it make meaning? Does it make me happy is the second rule. And then third one, will it make me money? It doesn't have to be today or tomorrow, but at some point as a business decision, if I can get all of those 3 to line up in that very order, they have to go in that order, I'll say yes. And that's what it comes down to. And I think,
lucky.
You know, what's that?
But I was lucky.
Well, you've supported me as well, Bev. As you know, I've turned down a lot of stuff this year leading up because of what's been going on, and I've had like health issues, like, you know, I said I get brain fog and stuff. So I it's hard for me to commit to stuff ongoing, because I might wake up one day, a bit of brain fog, and I'll not be able to deliver on the presentation. And I'm sorting out, I've got a protocol for that, and that will be resolved in a few months' time. But what I need to do is focus on that health side, because your health is your wealth, and deal with that. But you supported me, so instantly, like, you put me on the lineup, and I'm like, okay, I'll do it. You know, I'm here. And we had a discussion the other day. I'm not going to be able to get some slides together in time, but happy to do an interview. So yeah, I mean, this is slightly different, because this isn't a financial transaction. This is helping a fellow friend, you know, like you're doing your thing, you come and support mine, I'll come out to support you. And and you're right, going back to the competition thing.
No, it's great.
Competition's everywhere, but
tell me
it's
about
how you look at it, you know.
So looking at the future, I mean, and I know being a speaker and everything, most of us are going, well, we're not going to be in big buildings, and we're not going to have any, you know. So do you think this whole online summit thing is here to stay? Even if we go back to doing the big conferences, the online summit is here to stay?
It'll always be here. I just think what's happened is you're going to get some saturation now, because everyone's forced to go online. There will be a new normal. I mean, I've got Seller Sessions live on October 3rd. We've got the COVID version and the non-COVID version.
Was that one with masks and one without?
Well, yeah, literally what it is I'll quickly explain, is that if I've looked at it, if we can social distance 1 meter apart, and we provide hand sanitizers and we provide masks.
Yeah.
And lunches are made in sealed containers
Yeah.
and handed out, which can be sprayed down, right? And instead, like 80% of my speakers are from the US.
Right.
Instead of paying out my speaker bills like 15 grand in terms of hotels, flights, and everything else. Instead, I'd build a stage set, and they would do and it'll just be massive on the screens. I'll still present on stage.
Yeah.
And the idea would be a COVID version. And then there's the non-COVID version, which is just going into a venue as you would. But we don't know that. The bars and pubs open on the July 4th.
Yeah, yeah.
If we don't get a rebound, we're fine. But going back to the summit thing, they will be here to stay. I think we're going to hit saturation between now and Christmas because these live events, I get emails all the time, asking me to speak on those because they can't do their physical ones.
Yeah.
Who did I give you an example of? Who's at the Birmingham NEC? There's two. Internet Retailer Expo.
All right.
They're going to be doing some online stuff. And the other one is the software company my friend Gabrielle works for. The name escapes me now. I'll come back to it. But a lot of these people, because they've got to fill these gaps in between and keep their profile out there, they're doing a series of these online events, but I think the problem with that is that it becomes really compressed, and then there's too many going on, which leads me back to doing mine at the end of May. It wasn't so bad, even though I had two other summits that week.
No, I agree with you. And I did notice, because I've been talking to some other people, especially during the summit, on technology is getting better as well for summits. Some of the new software being developed is to be quite immersive, so it can make people feel like they're really there. Which is quite exciting.
Networking rooms and stuff like that. Yeah.
Still a bit expensive, but the market will even out, I hope.
Yeah, indeed.
And what about you for the future, though? Have you got any great plans for, I don't know, what's your goal for the next 5 years?
Next 5 years, well, we've got the agency. We're up to 25 clients there. It's really carry on developing the technology. So we look after 7 and 8 figure and soon to be 9-figure sellers on Amazon. And we've got our own technology. My partner is the algorithm guy behind Jungle Scout, which is a product research tool. We've done a lot of work over there. And so we're trying to push the needle forward, in terms of there's plenty of advancements to be made. And so that side is developing really well. The conference side, I've got seller sessions yearly. We've now got Branded by Women, and we also got Seller Poll, which is in its 2nd year. So that's an awards for and voting for the industry. So effectively, there's 3 events. So there's 4-month cycles around each of those events. So that business is taken care of. 3 different brands that are running every 4 months. Our team has to work on those as individual projects. Then I've got my own Amazon business. I'm looking to maybe launching a supplements brand. I had never gone into supplements before.
Oh, interesting.
Got some ideas on that side. And then just really is the agency, which is growing. Got a small team there, but it's all tech based. So we're up to 25 clients there, but happy with our growth on that side. Other than that, it's just it's getting back out on the road, because prior to COVID, I had about 15 gigs plugged in for the rest of this year. I was doing a lot of the major events in the UK, stuff overseas. Where was it? It was Poland I had lined up, Estonia, Slovenia, Amsterdam, Lithuania. There was loads lined up, but obviously a lot of these got canned and moved. So normally I'm normally out on the road. So I'd normally speak maybe 2-3 times a month sometimes, but that's obviously changed now. But I've been doing my seller sessions live. So I've done 77 Facebook lives in a row up to a couple of weeks ago. And now I've chopped that down to 5 days a week. But end plan for me is just keep building and creating stuff and enjoying the process. I think people wait for the end of the rainbow. I like to do now. Do you know what I mean? So.
No, I get that. The journey is as important, because actually you don't know when the end of the journey is, so you might as well enjoy where you're going.
Well, it goes back to getting up in the morning. If someone waves money under your nose and you hate doing it, eventually you'll get sick of dragging yourself out of bed, and you'll be miserable for that paycheck. So you're better off finding a middle ground where, if there are people listening out there who are working a full-time day job and they They want to work for themselves.
Yeah.
The problem you're always going to face, you have to cut your own cloth accordingly. So that nice house and car that you've got, and that private school tuition, if you really want to change your life and you don't have the funds, you're not going to go and get that 100 grand a year job starting your own business year one.
No.
You know, you're going to have to scale back and not keep up with the Joneses, but eventually you'll live your best life, basically.
That's it. It is. Yeah, it is. So I'm going to put all the links on the website page. So if people want to look at your websites and see what you're doing and stuff like that, they can. Yes. I thank you for taking the time out, because trust me, I have fibromyalgia, so I know brain fog. It's a nightmare. Yes. So thank you so much for giving us the time, and I look forward to all the next sessions you're going to be doing and Branded by Women next year.
Indeed. All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank
Take care.